So I'm Tim, and I wanted to talk about SOFII, because I don't know how many people here know much about SOFII. And I thought that for such a big day, I should start with an inspirational quote from someone inspirational. So I thought, I don't know, maybe Churchill. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. Oh, that felt good. I thought, maybe Gandhi. Be the change you wish to see in the world. But instead, I settled on, and this is when we're going to find out whether technology works. There is no such thing as a new idea. Okay, how many people know who wrote this? Come on.
Was it Gandhi?
No, it wasn't Gandhi. James?
Steve Jobs.
It was Mark Twain. Okay, so you're looking at this and you're thinking, Tim, this isn't particularly inspirational. But bear with me, because what I'm going to try to do here is make a point, and I'm not always brilliant at making points, so give me a bit of slack. First of all, what I want to do is to introduce you to an amazing organisation called Book Aid International. Now, Book Aid International were set up in 1954. Okay, so Book Aid International has been going for some time. Now, in its time, it has contributed 30 million books for children in the developing world. 30 million books. They estimate that 150 million children have read the books that they've donated. Now, about 6-7 years ago, I'm looking at Ken because he knows the story. 6 or 7 years ago, DFID contacted Book Aid International. DFID was their major funder. And DFID said, sorry guys, we can't continue the funding. Okay? Now, this was really terrible news for the good people at Book Aid International. But not to worry, because they had a secret weapon. Secret weapon, someone that most of us know here. Someone who I consider to be a friend, a mentor, a bit of a guru, a sector leader. They had Mr. Ken Burnett. Now, Ken hung out with them for a little bit, and Ken had an idea. And Ken's idea was amazing. Ken's idea was powerful. Ken's idea was so good that a few years later, Clive Nettleton, the Chief Executive Officer, said, without this idea, Book Aid International, as it is today, would not exist. Now, there's a big idea. This idea was so big that last year alone, over 500,000 books were provided to children in the developing world. 2.5 million children have benefited from this. And I know what you're all thinking. Tim, what's the idea? Tell me. We've all got our yellow books to write it in. It's such a good idea. What is it? Well, the idea was called the Reverse Book Club. A really simple, really powerful idea. Where for £6 a month, instead of receiving books, you send books. Ken is brilliant. You are a legend. Round of applause for Ken Burnett. Come on. Come on, everyone. Genius. Brilliant. But Ken, and I'm sorry to have to share this with the people here, because I think some people are going to be a little bit shocked and maybe a little bit saddened. Because Ken, this was not your idea. You stole it. You properly stole it. You stole it from the American Bible Society, who had been running this exact same idea, not for a couple of years, but since the 1970s. Shocking. But Ken is not a bad man. Ken is a good man. Because Ken knew exactly what he was doing. Taking a great idea and making it work for another great organisation. And it was this insight that inspired Ken to set up SOFII. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to make the point, kind of getting there. Ken knew that the power of an idea shouldn't be contained but spread across the world for others to benefit. And now, SOFII, which has been going for 5 years, has hundreds and hundreds of great ideas to showcase. Ideas that fundraisers here can replicate and make better and use for their own organisation. SOFII not only has hundreds of great ideas, but it's also visited by 200 countries, which is quite extraordinary because there are only 196 countries. So that's 110%, isn't it, Ken? I don't know where I got that from. It's also been translated into English, Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Italian. And every month, 20,000 fundraisers from around the world, from the 200 countries around the world, visit and get inspiration from SOFII. But what I don't know many people know here is that SOFII is a charity. SOFII is entirely funded by donations from the sector. Entirely funded by donations from the sector. 20 people here today have given up their time for free to stand on this stage in front of 300 people, which is a little bit nerve-wracking, I can tell you. To share stories and to share ideas that they wish that they had had in order to help raise money for SOFII. Now, just earlier, we did a quick count, back of a fag packet, looking at how much money this event so far has raised for SOFII, and we're fairly confident that it's £8,750. So that's brilliant, okay? That's people here turning up, paying money for the seats they're sitting on. That's amazing. But we want more than that, or we want a lot more than that. But today, we're thinking, would it be possible to get it to £9,000? Okay? Now, quick count, people sitting on seats here. £1 each? It's not a lot to ask for. How could you possibly say no? Yeah, a lot of nervous-looking fundraisers. It's only £1. Now, what we thought we would do, at the end of all of this, we're going to have a vote for the best idea. And guess what? It wouldn't be open if that wasn't mobile. So we're going to ask people to text vote. But just before we do that, I'm going to stand up and put a number on the screen. And if people feel able to, it would be wonderful if everyone could get their phones out, text to the number to donate £1 from their phone. And that would take us to £9,000. Now, there is one more thing before I go, and I'm not entirely sure whether I'm allowed to say this. I'm looking to the back of the room a little bit nervously at Tony. But Tony from Listen has said that he would double anything that is raised today, not just on the day. He would double that. Okay? So today, we could get to £18,000. Now, £18,000 will do a huge amount, because £18,000 will help go towards rebuilding the site that we know and love as SOFII. Okay? And the site does need a little bit of work, doesn't it? We all know that. But that is going to cost money. So if anyone feels that they've got slightly deeper pockets, okay, and would like to push this up a little bit more, maybe to 10,000. Looking nervously at Tony here. 11? 12? I wonder just how far he'll go on this match funding promise. But anyway, Mark Twain also said another thing. He said a lot, actually. But for the 20 ideas that are going to be talked about today, maybe a new idea will come out from it. So the man with a new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds. So good luck, everyone. I'm now going to invite Ken onto the stage. Ken is going to talk about a story and an idea that he wished he had, but he's also going to tell us what he thinks is so great about SOFII.